this morning. We will take a roll. The roll is open. Please indicate your attendance. All right. We are in attendance and we have quorum. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a great presentation this morning. As you know, transportation is where technology is at. Earlier briefing with Commissioner Patrick from VDOT indicated some of the cool apps and cool progress that we have reporting to our citizens, progress of these roads. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Charlie Kilpatrick. I'm the VDOT Commissioner. I'm glad to be here today to present to you a application that we rolled out at the Commonwealth Transportation Board meeting a little over a week ago. I want to talk real quickly through it, and Jay Stiles, who's our director of our Business Transformation Office, is going to give you a real quick demo and tell you how you can download it and use this application. The dashboard has been around since 2003 at VDOT. It was then and continues today to be a leader nationally in terms of public-facing performance of our construction projects, as well as things like our paving conditions and bridge conditions. That application is available today on our public-facing website and can show the health and the progress in terms of projects, as well as, again, conditions of bridge, pavement, and some areas including safety. What I'm showing to you today is an outgrowth of the Smart Scale process and the change in legislation that occurred that really fundamentally changes how projects are scored, how they are decided on which projects are going to be delivered, and how we go about actually delivering them. So again, Smart Scale is how our capital improvement program is largely managed at VDOT. And today what Jay is going to show you is an application. It's a mobile-friendly application that will track the projects that were in the first round of Smart Scale. There were actually 165 projects. The reason you see one less is two projects came together and formed a single project. But what you're going to see today, this is the first round of projects that were funded through the last year's updated 6-year plan by the Commonwealth Transportation Board. You also, your staff, each of you have received a package of all the applications that were scored this year. Those projects are not on this yet because they have not been selected or funded. But again, you have that list, and once those projects are funded with the updated 6-year plan, they will be added to this application. Going forward, we look to migrate our entire capital program towards this platform where the public, where you, where our staff, local government can easily access and look at the condition of these projects moving forward. So with that, I'm going to have Jay come up and give you a real quick demo, and again, provide information on how you can download this onto an iPad, an iPhone, or just pick it up on your website. So with that, I'd like to invite up Mr. Stiles.
Certainly, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning. So I just start out saying this is a mobile-enabled website, which means that you don't have to go to the App Store or iTunes to download this. This is available for anybody. You can put a shortcut on your phone for ease of access, but it's a mobile-enabled website. It's designed to optimize for work on your phone, but you can use it on a laptop or anything like that. So just to start off here, this dashboard is designed like our current dashboard in that you can kind of drill down to the level of information that you want. We start out high and work with. So we start out on this home screen. We've got 4 key measures. On the left is our development measures, everything leading up to the award of a project. On the right is the delivery once it's been awarded under construction. On the top is one time, on the bottom is one budget. So you can kind of see very quickly that most of the projects we have right now are still in the development phase. We've got a few that are over in delivery, under construction. And while we're doing okay on budget, having a little bit in the upper right column, you'll see that top left one rather, is red. And that is because we have a 70% target, we're only hitting 68% of our projects right now. So we can drill into this. Looking at that. And you can see a little bit lower level of detail in terms of how many are green, yellow, and red. So then you can flip back and forth and use the buttons on the bottom. It's just a convenient way to get across all four measures. If you want to drill a little deeper into this, we can put one, okay, we got 29 yellow. And it pulls up a list of yellow projects. Go down here. Most of them are yellow for time, green for budget. Here's the one that's yellow for budget as well. Delivery before the 15th, we'll go back and we'll show everything with that. But until then, because we're in the kind of warning track, we're going to just call it yellow. Just a couple of things. We also have the ability to go in. First by project name, first by, if you know your project PPC number, you can first by that. And then we can also, we've got very filters here. Go through by district, your fiscal year, which right now everything is on 517. Use the statuses, go down to the district line, the localities, the VDOT, the RPC. And then also, why you can first more information on the map view. And so, all the projects that we have, you can also do the search and filter by that as well, and zoom into these and pull up information. So that's not what's on the project. Get some detailed information on it, and you can go back on it. That takes back on this skill page. If you have information on, even more information about the rules on this, or the targets, if you click on the about smart scale, pulls up all the information about the smart scale projects and the rules that we have there as well.
Mr. Chairman,
Don't make this done.
so I'm now, and I'm just trying to make sure I get to the right place. There's something that says smart portal, and it calls for a name, and that's something different than what you're explaining.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you go to how do you find this? Go to the VDOT homepage, and you will see, I think it's on the left side, it will say Smart Scale with the word dashboard next to it on the homepage. Click the dashboard, and this will open up. What you are referring to there is the broader portal where people import projects that they are proposing to be scored. That is the system that's available for the public for local governments to put projects in for consideration, sir. So if I could, there's a lot in here. We are continuing to work this product. This was developed in about 4 months. Jay's team, along with some consultant support, were able to put this product together and out on the street. We thought it was really important that we begin to show in a simple way the progress of the project in smart scale. And we talked about the colors and similar to a traffic light, you have red, yellow, and green. Green means go, everything is okay. Yellow is cautionary and means something may be happening that needs attention. And red, of course, is a date or has been missed or a budget has been missed. Now, there are opportunities through the development process to correct that. If a project is coming in where it is behind schedule, there are opportunities for our team to catch back up. But if a project is awarded late, it stays late. There is no correction for a project that's late. And since the beginning of the dashboard, we would consider that project red, and it would stay red. Similarly, if a project was completed late, there is no correction for that, and it is reported for all time as being a late project. We've created very strict rules for ourselves on this program, but we believe it's important to track them in a consistent and predictable way, in a way where people know that they have reliance that the information in the system is correct. So again, we will continue to be developing the system and adding projects. We're looking at adding other types of projects, including safety projects, including enhancement projects and those in future updates to this product. But again, to get to this site, whether you're using an iPhone or an Android or similar type of device or your computer, you go to VDOT's homepage, look for this smart scale icon, and it'll say dashboard next to it. You can click that and then just save it to your desktop.
Commissioners, great for transparency, but more importantly, about our constituents, especially us. When our constituents call us, ask us for stats in the red rather than on the red. And we can just say, get real-time information. Any questions from the committee in regards to technology dashboard? I encourage all the committee members to inform your constituents on this. It's very cool. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir.
We have total subcommittee reports. We have subcommittee number 2, building needs change there today, but I'll let that report as subcommittee. HB 2336, building owners bill. There is a line that Christie, you want to address with the line that
Mr. Chairman, on page 1, line 15, after employment and was, strike engaged in law enforcement activity and insert operating the motor vehicle in the performance of his official duties.
Is there a motion to accept that? Moved. Second, all in favor, say aye. Bill before us, building owners bill for the law enforcement officers involved in accidents. What this does is provide that any law enforcement officer is moved as a driver and a vehicle accident report. Submit it to DMV. Have an accident, but we on his driving record. If he was driving another vehicle provided by the law enforcement agency, of course, it is employment, engaging in law enforcement activity and such as subcommittee reported unanimously. Other commissions report with the well, yes, that's kind of.
Yes, I have a question for someone, but I don't know who it would be. No, it's not here,
Right.
This amendment uses the word operating. Delegate Habib and I had a discussion about this the other day. Operating has a very specific definition under the code. And this amendment may or may not change some of the dynamics of this bill. So I'm kind of curious, maybe staff can tell us why the amendment was written the way it was.
Delegate Habib.
The issue that came up with this bill last time, for those who weren't on the subcommittee, were a little concerned about some of the language there and whether it weren't defined terms. What this language now, as I understand it, is doing is actually codifying what DMV has been doing for some time, and giving them the statutory authority the Attorney General's office has hinted that they need in order to do what they're doing. Everybody involved seems to indicate that this language now meets their understanding and meets their practice. As we talked about, as it relates to some of the bills that some of our colleagues here file, operating motor vehicle does have a very broad definition, and I think that would be, I think the definition that you and I understand to be the broadest operating would apply here too. So anytime any of the broadly defined operation occurs and they're in their official duties and they're in the vehicle, then this is the statute that would apply.
Follow-up question, Mr. Chairman. I think part of the reason some folks are concerned is that there are a lot of law enforcement personnel who take their vehicles home, part of their job. And, you know, what would happen in the event that, can somebody clarify for me under the bill, what would happen if a person's just driving that vehicle and then is involved in an accident? Would the fact that they are just law enforcement personnel mean that this would not be listed on their record? I think that's probably not intended by the bill, but I want to make sure that that would be the case. You can understand why you don't want to penalize somebody who's doing their duties and is in an accident, but you also could understand if somebody wasn't on duty and they were involved in an accident that might have been their fault, then you want to have that on their record. So can somebody just clarify that for me? Certainly, Bill, it's time. Sure.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Wayne Huggins, State Police Association. Doug, this kind of in the incident that you're describing with the state police and the person was found, one, not to be involved in non-duty law enforcement activity, or two, was operating the motor vehicle carelessly, they could be punished, disciplined up to and including termination, or cited, and in that event, then that crash would in fact go under DMV record. What we're talking about is a practice, as the chairman said, that goes back, nobody knows when it started. I can tell you it goes back as far as 1971 when I became a trooper. That these crashes where you're involved in law enforcement related activities, although that's not the phrase we're using here, do not go in your personal record. Obviously, there would be tremendous deleterious effect on law enforcement if that would occur.
Follow-up question? Certainly. So I don't know how state troopers operate. My sense is they don't take their vehicles home. I'm more curious about police departments.
We do take our vehicles home. We're issued our vehicles.
Okay, so they.
And when you're in that vehicle, quite candidly, you are considered to be on duty, even if you technically are off duty, because if you see something happened to me years ago, you are required to take necessary enforcement action. So if you're in that vehicle, you're a state trooper, you're in that state police vehicle, you technically are on duty and obligated to react in an appropriate law enforcement manner.
Thanks for clarifying all those things. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, we have House Bill 2336 for proposed amendments.
What 2120, we've seen lots of bills over the last several years calculation. This is a much narrower bill, as I understand. It's keeping the membership the same, but it's moving one of the town votes to a voting vote, which is significant for the votes of the town. There is, the MBTA did oppose the change, and there was some concern that this may affect some of the bond issues that are obviously fundamental to MBTA. So in recommending reporting this bill forward, we also asked that if there were any actual concerns with the impact on the bond, that they come provide us that information. I'm not sure if Chairman of MBTA would like to testify to that today. I know he's here, the delegate team's here. The recommendation of the subcommittee was to report this bill on 5-1, but.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Marty Noe, a member of the Prince William Board of County Supervisors, but relevant today, Chairman of the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority. I think the Chairman will be addressed and sort of set this discussion up pretty well for us. This is a bill that's come up several times over the years, and frankly, the question has come up each time that the underlying enabling legislation of the authority has been reviewed. Back in 2002, when the authority was created in anticipation of the referendum, which later failed. 2007 with the passage of 3202. In 2013 with the passage of 2313. This question has been looked at. And when it's looked at in the broader context, it's always been set aside because of these bonding issues. Here's the challenge. What this legislation and previous legislation attempted to do was create one voting seat to represent the 5 large towns of Northern Virginia. The MBTA is unique among regional funding bodies like ours because in that we are a true authority. We make the final decision rather than sending our decisions to CCD, and we have local bonding authority. The challenge that this rule change would create is that it would call into question the one man, one vote concept. What it would do is give a vote to one of the 5 mayors, who presumably would represent all 5. But what we've been advised time and again is that if that representative happens to be the mayor of the town of Dumfries, then the people of the town of Vienna will not have had the opportunity to choose that individual. So that there's unequal representation issue among towns. But then separately there becomes another issue because those towns are all parts of counties. So that if, again, the mayor of Dumfries has a vote, then now suddenly Prince William County has 2 votes on the authority, which, if that were the case, I'd probably be okay with that until, of course, the mayor of Herndon got that vote. And from our perspective, we want to engage the towns. I've told the mayors as recently as yesterday, I'd like very much to find ways to help them be more engaged, more impactful in the decision-making process. The challenge we have is that we don't want to be in a situation where 2 or 3 years from now there's a major project that requires bonding to be funded, and I've got the state Supreme Court telling me that we have to undo our work on the basis that we don't meet constitutional muster because we've created an imbalanced structure. And absent a fix for that, I think it would have a cooling effect on our ability to do some of these large projects, because it would make us much more reluctant to do the project.
All right. That's the key for question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But I think the queue because it doesn't show it on my screen. Show it on. Okay, cool. Maybe a question for the patron. I think I understand how the substitute works. Is there any, to Chairman Noe's point about including towns, is there any decision that's been made by the MBTA recently that should have been made differently from the viewpoint of the town of Louisiana, or would have been made differently if there was this bill in effect? I just wonder what's the practical significance?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Well, a couple points. I'm not a member of the MBTA, nor do I attend meetings regularly, so I can't speak to any specific issues. But this bill isn't designed to rectify a problem or a specific issue that happened that we want to undo on chart. The last thing I want to do is impact anything in terms of governance or legal structure that will jeopardize all the bonds and such. So let me talk about that later. But to specifically to your point, this issue has been around for a long time, especially since 2313 was passed and transportation funding is coming in. The same day that I said this bill, I also mentioned another bill that would allow for new sidewalk projects to be incorporated. Towns, as you know, Mr. Chairman, are towns are unique in that they are much more urban and much more connected. So their projects are different in nature than counties that represent a lot of rural areas. And so to the extent that the issues about funding for new sidewalk projects or needs the town of Vernon Town, Leesburg, those issues should not be addressed. And it takes me introducing bills every year from these folks to talk about towns to say we'll take care of them. But between the 9 and 10 months that we're not in session, the towns just don't have a chance to have a conversation. And I'm very glad to hear the chairman know he's willing to reach out to the towns now, even more than before. But I doubt that conversation would have happened at the fruitful level as it is if it didn't bring this bill forward. So those are the issues ongoing in terms of the conversations they're having at the board level.
Delegate issue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I serve on the CCA along with Leo, and two components here that I think are interesting. That's kind of the 2015 raises about 5 towns in the population greater than 500 in the area. Pittsburgh, Vienna, Farmington, Duncan, Purcellville. They are kind of special. Getting on the running road 55. Now, Chairman Mello may be one of only 5 people in the state. Actually, there are a mathematical formula in the voting happens. Mathematics. And I see in what voting formulaic computation we have in the CPA. I think he's right that if, for example, 1 year, hypothetically, where Vienna has a voting seat on the CPA, Fairfax County has a greater number of votes under like a 1-man, 1-vote theory. The next year, when it's personal, allows the county the same thing. The next year, when it's personal deductive, it's the same thing. So, I think if we're to go forward with it, back to Chairman Miller's comments, the CPA would have to, dare I say it, rejuggle its mathematical voting formula to account for that. So you can do it mathematically. The Leesburg person in the CPA, Chair Randall's countywide vote would have to be diminished so you can use that 1-man, 1-vote here. We take a bit more math to determine that Mr. Miller is coming to start with that tree.
This Rich's question, I think that if the vote weighting were to be restructured in that way, that would address part of the problem of the challenge of Vienna and Fairfax or Purcellville and Loudoun both having votes. That would address that weighting problem. We wouldn't address the Herndon has a vote, but Purcellville doesn't have a vote component of it. I think it's important to add that there is currently a rotating position for the towns on the authority, which is a non-voting position. And when the legislation that created that non-voting position started as one initially creating 5 voting positions. Originally, let's give every town a vote. That was determined to be unwieldy, so they said, let's give one a vote, and that's when it was determined by then Chairman Ross, that now that creates a constitutional problem, so let's make it a non-voting position. But looking back, if you created 5 voting positions, well, you theoretically probably would be okay constitutionally and from a bond perspective, but then that would rejuggle everything in terms of how the dynamic works. I think the key though is that that complex math that you referenced is embedded in the code. That's not our bylaws. Our enabling legislation created the very complex voting rules under which we operate. So that would, your idea would address it, but it wouldn't address it in the short order. Does that make sense?
Sure, let me ask you, so towns are represented by one, we get together, one representative, out of 5 towns. They rotate, whether or not they remember the absentee is when they can't vote.
That's right. And then, Mr. Chairman, one other detail. In the statute, the enabling statute, there's also a committee called the Planning Coordinating Advisory Committee, one of our key advisory committees that provides peer review of all of our work. All of the towns are also represented on that committee. That committee was essentially created to give all of them a voice. And I will add, for what it's worth, there's something that wouldn't work, and that could be done actually administratively in our rules is we have a long-standing rule of the authority that, for example, on our committees, there's 5 individuals on a committee, but we allow all of the authority members to participate. I could, within our bylaws, create an environment in which, in a non-voting capacity, all of the mayors could participate fully in our meetings. And that would not give them the vote that they're seeking, but would give all of the towns the opportunity to give full participation. I'm not sure something that what they would desire. I don't know that the mayors all want additional meetings every month, but it's something that we could, there are tools available to us within our bylaws to give them a lot of tools.
Mr. Chair, let me start by recognizing that this is a conversation about NPTA, and for most of my colleagues here who are not from that region are probably thinking, is this just, town fighting over county? Let me point this out, that we created this, the General Assembly created this entity, and as complex as it is the only entity of this kind in Commonwealth in the country. I mean, it's very complex, but for me, it comes down to the idea of fairness, and our job as members outside of Northern Virginia is to make sure that our policies and our laws make the most common sense, that we can explain to people, and it actually does what it's supposed to do, especially when it comes to taxpayer money that's coming to Northern Virginia for transportation projects. And I just want to ask a couple of questions that I want you to think about. All that conversation is fine in terms of the fairness and the process, but the reality is currently under MBTA authorization right now, you have a governor's appointee that is a voting member. Somebody who happens to be an appointee of the governor, one individual, just random citizen, has a vote. A person who's on the member of the CTV, Commonwealth Transportation Board, has a vote. You have 5 or 6 cities that have votes. You have counties that have votes. The town that represents, with 5 towns that we never founded, that represents over 100,000 people in Northern Virginia, have no vote, and they're relegated to the same status as the head of the Virginia Department of Transportation and head of the Virginia District Rail and Public Transportation. So the question for me, as far as one man, one vote, is the fact that we have already put elected officials in a lower category, people who are elected by constituents, in a lower category than one person who happens to be an appointee of the governor's local appointee. And furthermore, in terms of that one man, one vote issue, we have 2 members of the General Assembly who happen to be members here, our good friends from Fairfax and Loudoun County, who are members of MBTA, as well as a senator from the Virginia Senate. They obviously represent the same constituencies that towns, cities, and counties have. Now, I don't know what the formula is. I've never been part of the formula, but the reality is you have people that are double, triple counted already on the board. And so to the extent that we're talking about one man, one vote, I think we just have to look at this from a clearer perspective. What is the right policy? It's not just about MBTA, but it's what is the right fairness that we want to explain as a committee. And Mr. Chairman, if at some point at the right time, if you still want me to, I'd be happy to address the bonding issue that brought us to this point today. Question for me. Sure. In the subcommittee, for those who aren't at the subcommittee, Mr. Chairman of the subcommittee asked that we address the issue of the bonds. And the way that came up was, in the presentation, the representative from NBTA mentioned that by adding a voting member of the town, we're not adding a new member, we're turning a non-voting member into a voting member. That act alone would jeopardize the bonds of NBTA. It's basically the essence of what she mentioned. We did some due diligence. I talked to our town talked to their attorneys, and other towns as well. It turns out that our bond counsel, a law firm by the name of Ward Woods, advises us that there is no such problem, because if NBTA, by the way, I think it's the same law firm, there is no such problem that they're aware of. And if there was a problem, they would certainly be raising fire alarms as well, because the last thing the town of Vienna wants to do is jeopardize our AAA bonds, nor anybody else. I don't live in the town of Vienna, I live in Fairfax County, I represent the town. I live in Fairfax County, I live in this jurisdiction, and so the last thing I would do is jeopardize anything that happens in my district, especially since I represent Texas Corner that has major transportation and I-66. So as far as my diligence, we were trying to prove the negative that our action would not cause harm, but the alarm on the other side basically said that this one change of going from a non-voting member to a voting member will then jeopardize billions and billions of dollars of project, which frankly, it may cause litigation if somebody were to raise a problem about this, but I don't know if our job as legislators is to pass laws because we're so afraid, or not pass laws because we're afraid of potential litigation. I think the idea is to come up with that policy and then see what happens after that. So anyway, that's just my reaction to what the chairman asked me to do last week. No, sir, because our lawyer from the town of Vienna asked that their bond counsel said, I can't put something in writing that's proving a negative that says, based on what you're telling me, that there cannot be an impact on the bonds. They said that that's just, it's like the duty would be on the person making the accusation that there is a problem. If you were to do this, I would ask the NBTA's bond counsel whether they would put it in writing by adding a voting member, NBTA's project and bond will be jeopardized. If that's the case, then we would back to that, but trying to disprove them negative as Mr. Chairman, something the Chairman knows, it's pretty hard to do in the legal context.
Chairman, well, Mr. Chairman, frankly, this kind of puts us totally in a box. It makes it hard to go forward. The issue was a lot of us couldn't care less about MBTA and are tired of hearing these bills, or totally in the bill, and just want you all to figure out how you want governance. It makes some sense to let the town be fiscally represented, and I don't think it's that hard to subtract the voting population of the town from that particular county and for the formula. But I think it's a binary question based on this bond question. So if there's any chance it affects the bond, it would be reckless to go forward. If we know unequivocally it's not going to affect the bond, then whatever, governor yourself wherever you want to. So the way we handle the subcommittee was we asked both Mr. Keene and the folks from MBTA to see if we could get a bond council opinion letter. Now, if in fact, whoever was voting on bond council, y'all got a different problem. But that's an issue that y'all can work out. The lawyer in me does not like hearing that at all. But if to me, if there is any uncertainty on the impact of bonds, we should not go forward. Whether or not that question has been resolved or voted is up to the individual member. The idea for me was we were going to get more shots at this, so let's keep it live so we can try to resolve the bond question. To me, it is still unresolved at this point. So I would have a hard time to put it forward if there's any chance of affecting it, but I understand the issue trying to get to.
I have to do it, and again, Mr. Chairman, I did, at least on my side of this equation, we've done our part to do the due diligence. We've talked to as many lawyers as possible, but we just couldn't get a lawyer representing an interest here to put something in writing that says, I'm going to disprove a negative that there will not be any impact. I mean, I can ask to write something like that again, but.
compact. I think everybody up here is aware of this issue. Everyone, I think, is aware of the background where it's coming from, what the goal would be. We're in the substitute, but before I move the substitute, I want to explain what it is. Because then there's an amendment to the substitute, and there's some people that oppose the bill, I think, because of the language in the substitute. I don't think anything in the underlying bill is controversial. I think everybody's on board. This has been hashed out between the three jurisdictions, DC, Maryland, Virginia. I got served on that work group and passed off the work. Others here, Delegate Money and others have been running with it. I think the controversy is in the substitute, which was an enactment clause added that put some requirements before the Metro Safety Commission was going into effect. It's certain things regarding the operation and financial condition of Lamont be addressed. That amendment was adopted with one no vote. The bill then went forward with that same no vote for the same reasons. And then today we have a new version of that enactment clause that I think is still probably just as controversial to folks. So I think the proper way to do it would be to adopt the substitute and then move the amendment to that substitute and then hear any testimony on that amendment because it is a tweak from before. So assuming that's the right way to go forward, I would move the substitute.
If it's, second for the substitute, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. And then, Mr. Chairman, I think it's Delegate Mitchell's amendment you would like to offer to substitute, so appropriate, I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the last meeting of our Transportation Committee, I offered a additional action clause on the open money cycle to one to the Metro Safety Commission. And what I'm not going to far with but what I tried first is mention that we did fine-tune the language in that action clause, and I asked council to have copies of the revised action clause, which I also sent to Secretary Lane and Deputy Secretary Donahue representing last night. It is, Mr. Chairman, a softening of the language that was in the one that was in force last week. And first time, Mr. Chairman, that it was approved for the board.
Chairman,
Yeah, I mean, again, the substitute before us, so once this amendment is circulated and appropriate, I assume the Delegate Ritchie would move adoption of this amendment, and I expect there's going to be some folks who want to be heard on the amendment.
certainly, Delegate Ritchie, is there a motion to accept your amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would move that just circulated revised action clause, the committee statement of the action clause that I offered to one to the and that.
Second. All right, it's been seconded. Questions for the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I expect this folks would like to testify to that.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
And just reviewing this, just sure I'm clear and other members are clear what has changed. As I read the amendment, it seemed to address one of the points that I thought was a fair point made by the Secretary and the subcommittee, that the substitute would require the actual implementation of a new agreement governing Metro generally, different from the safety agreement, but a new agreement governing Metro generally before the safety agreement could take effect, before the safety commission could take effect. As I understand this, that's no longer required, that instead, the parties to the 50-year-old Nevada agreement, which I think we all agree to provision, would simply have to have a definitive agreement to do so, and then wait for their various legislative bodies to
Delegate Minshew, is Delegate Wilmunion's representation of what the softening is reflect what you are trying to accomplish with the softening?
I guess I'm just trying to understand, the version of the National Guard law last week would require an actual amendment to the model compact in accord with Virginia law. It sounds controversial, but in the codified books, we have a version of the model compact that's not been, that's been signed by Governor Collins, that has not been done for Virginia. I appreciate it's problematic, given the rather complicated way that Vermont does business in the compact, to actually ask for Maryland and the district to approve a version of the model compact signed by the governor last year for the code. What this does not require that. It basically states that, in a nutshell, Chairman, we're going to create this mechanism that will take money. I first believe it will be in the 8 figures. And ignoring where that money is going to come from is like ignoring the 800 pound gorilla in the corner. What this amendment does is set forth some parameters by which the model will be able to have the money it needs to do the mandated safety improvements that the MSC will mandate an operational fund. Labor cost revision and efficiency. So this does not require Maryland and DC to actually make a compact. It's quite a version of it.
Follow-up question. And ask Delegate Minshew, who makes the proposal as to how to change the compact?
I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, that any of the members can bring forward to the other two proposed amendments. In a nutshell, the bill that Senator Adam Evans carried last year, we in Virginia amended our code to put forward what we think the Vermont compact should look like. Consider that to be an offer to our funding partners in the negotiation process. That offer that we made through codified law has not yet been accepted by Maryland and Virginia. So the way within any three-way compact is one person makes an offer, you have discussion, and work it out that way. In the end, though, all three funding partners must agree to that language. So to determine basically what we did last year with Governor Collins signed into law was if Virginia offered to amend the model compact in a very good way, that offer is not going to be respected by these two members.
Final question. So I asked the delegate then, is it his interpretation that who proposes this would be the administration? The administration would have to take. No?
Yes.
So okay, I'm trying to figure out who is supposed to take an action based on this amendment.
The last line between the words negotiated consent agreement. By the way, words consent agreement, that is not a legally binding contract. It's words about the money might work out and describe as legally binding. What real estate lawyers might call better than something like that. It's not requiring an actual executed model compact. And yes, the words in response to what Ms. Stone said, Virginia's model representative, I would define that as being our negotiation team that carries the ball down. And we think that a place where they would start is asking them to codify law become the violation of the law.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, can I ask one final question? Okay. So the Virginia WMATA representative makes this proposal, and what actually is meant by a definitive agreement? What would that be?
The word consent agreement, basically, I would refer to it as a meeting of the minds, agreement in concept, not an executed, fully lawyered compact agreement, but basically a substantive meeting of minds that recognizes the problem and comes up with a solution that will give rise to a investment in the problem.
a couple lines below, in a form necessary and sufficient for approval by the respective governing bodies. So that agreement is in place by July 1st. The compact, the safety compact takes effect July 1st. And then in the 2018 session, and after those in Richmond, we blessed these amendments to the compact. I think that's what this anticipates. And to the point that Delegate Minshew mentioned, and maybe with respect to Delegate Rock, I want to make sure we're not getting sidetracked and think that the big issue with Metro is creating the safety commission and everything's going to be fine. Okay? Metro's got a cancer. Okay? This is a Band-Aid. Okay? What this amendment says is the surgeon's got to review with the patient. Okay? Because the Band-Aid's not going to work. Might everything be like feel good? And I'm concerned, frankly, that people in my district who are regular users of the orange and silver line are going to see this roll out in the public narrative. I think, okay, Metro's getting good again. It's coming back. Certainly the management team there, we all support what they're doing in the near term things with safety. But in fact, unless these problems are solved, the original 50-year-old compact, it's not going to be better. And I think that's what this amendment calls to attention. And I think what it basically says is the respective parties have 5 months, almost February 1st, to get this done. And on the question of who actually represents Virginia, I don't have a copy of the 50-year-old without a compact in front of me, but I think there's a process and it describes how it's amended. I think it's well known how that process is what. So that shouldn't be a concern. Dr. Kaczynski.
Just speaking to the bill for the amendment, some of these comments I made in the subcommittee, so I'll repeat them. So I served on this little work group in 3 jurisdictions with quite experience. I've never done that sort of multi-jurisdictional work. We were very well served by Director Mitchell and her folks in advancing sort of Virginia's policy goals in the Metro Safety Commission. There was unanimity amongst the jurisdictions that we wanted to achieve an independent Metro Safety Commission that complied with federal law, but also just did the right thing and brought better governance to safety issues. And it was a pleasure to work with Director Mitchell and her folks to achieve that. I think the underlying bill largely does that. And on some level, part of me wants us to have no other conversations besides the underlying bill because of how important the underlying bill is, how important safety is, and its independence. Having said that, I'm very sensitive to the folks that know who have been beating their heads against the wall for years trying to address some of these operational and financial conditions of WMATA. And I can tell you, Virginia is not alone in expressing those frustrations. I heard that from the legislators, the executive representatives from each of the other jurisdictions. Now, they don't necessarily agree what the problem and the solution is, but they all agree that there are financial problems, there are operational problems, that there are safety problems. Virginia has, as I understand it, for about the last 40 years, continuously reenacted our version of the WMATA compact to include certain labor and other provisions that are not part of the WMATA compact because it hasn't been adopted by others. Those include bills advanced and signed by governors of both parties, advanced by legislators from both parties. So I think the intention of Virginia to address some of these operational financial issues at the underlying compact, labor, and other issues has been made fairly clear. I think any enactment clause that does harm to the underlying Metro Safety Commission could be ultimately problematic. I understand the administration's perspective that the amendment from the subcommittee, which required changes to the compact, may have put a barrier in place that was insurmountable. I understand what the goal here is simply to say, before it becomes effective, the signatory jurisdictions need to agree to work on these issues. Now, whether or not it can continue to be wordsmithed through the process, I expect it will be, it can be. But to the extent what this amendment is attempting to do is say, we want an act of Metro Safety Commission, but we also want everyone to agree to sit down and have a conversation about how we address these other issues. I don't view that as an insurmountable obstacle in the form of this enactment clause. So, again, recognizing it's early in the process, I would hope that we will advance the underlying bill. I hope that we will advance this softened version of the enactment clause, because I think it advances the duality of addressing operational financial issues, but also addressing the safety issues. So I will vote in favor of the amendment and then the underlying bill. I hope others will as well. it doesn't become effective until all of the sub-conditions are met. And then there's the next level, when it's compact, everybody else has to also have binding legislation passed. And so the way I read this would say this new compact would be passed with the acts of assembly, but it couldn't be effective until all these sub-paragraphs were met. And then the new compact couldn't be created until every other jurisdiction had passed the final version that also had any sub-requirements met. And you can see again, we're talking about E, but there's A, B, C, D, and then F that are also reenacted issues here. What these guys are trying to get at here is to say, I think, to say that to fulfill this sub-E, you just have to have an agreement to address the financial condition, the financial liability of WMATA. Because what you have to understand in the underlying safety commission, the safety commission can require WMATA to prioritize safety over everything else. And so, if this new safety commission, let's say, identifies $10 million in safety issues that have to be addressed, WMATA would either have to save $10 million somewhere else to operations to shift over, or they have to identify new streams of revenue. And so obviously folks are sensitive to the latter, which is paying new taxes, and to the former, which is shutting down service. So what they're trying to do is say, is once there's an agreement to address those issues, then it becomes effective. Now, it's not a typical enactment clause. Compacts aren't a typical piece of legislation. But I think staff would agree, and I think others would agree, that no matter what we did with this bill, it would not become a binding compact until every requirement we put on it is met, and every requirement every other jurisdiction put on it is met, and then final approval from Congress.
Follow-up question, Mr. Chairman. Living in Northern Virginia, and with lots of constituents who use the metro system, certainly we all can talk about the problem that we've had, an incredibly successful system, carrying millions of people as preliminary complaint about their but, and with the limited amount of money that's available here for routine maintenance, it's real wonder that the system frankly would have problems. A lot of people spend a lot of time thinking about these problems, and it's such a sort of good mind to how it might be solved. And one of those solutions growing out of cross-jurisdictional discussion has been that we should have a Metro Safety Commission compact. And that would be one of the solutions to the problem that we're seeing. But now, as I hear the discussion today, it sounds to me like what we're talking about doing is solving all the problems that we have with Metro. And all by the way, if we solve all those problems, then we'll put the compact. That's the horse before the cause, and cart before the horse, the other way around, cart before the horse. Or we should allow the jurisdictions that they've been working together already, that led to this being one of the solutions, to adopt the solution. But don't put a lot of conditions on it, or you have to say that to do all these things to lead to what was going to be the solution anyway. And I would end with my question would be, does that make sense to somebody here? We need to put the horse before the cart, not the cart before the horse.
Before we get into further discussion, moved and seconded that he said, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah. No. All right. Put that on the table. And then, that long for you guys, so I can move on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, one more about the bill.
Just a little bit of background, and then when I ask Bill, I want to get a question. This Committee on the Safety Commission is dedicated to addressing safety. I think it's necessary to just, for those who aren't interested in what's going on here, this is a system that is basically has a 20 to 30 year functional life, and we are at the 20 to 30 year mark. The system essentially needs to be rebuilt. Achieving safety by standing up a safety commission is just a temporary band why that's in there, and I think that also speaks to Delegate Plum's point, that you really need both of these together. You have a safety commission, but you don't have a metro that has near-term and long-term financial liability. You have a chief result.
Mr. Chairman, parliamentary inquiry. I may be losing my hearing, but I don't know, should the chair rule the motion? You should look at that. Okay, great, thank you. Still up.
So I'm gonna bring Honorable Secretary up. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I understand the confusion, because I'm not sure what this enactment clause says either, but look, it's been my pleasure over the last few years to work with you, and we have actually come to common ground on many, many issues, and I appreciate that, because a lot of them were very difficult, but I'm afraid we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this particular issue. Quite frankly, I could read this to say that this gives me executive control to go ahead and do the compact, and if that's the case, I'm not gonna have to stand in front of you today to get the original compact that I'm talking about done. So I think it's a lot of confusion, it's been a legal litigation. I respectfully, again, disagree with what the purpose of this is. I don't think anybody disagrees that there needs to be major reforms with Lamont. Nobody would disagree with that from the governor on down. I do disagree that this is the vehicle to do it. I don't agree it's going to lead to all these additional funds. In fact, it gives me another, in my position as secretary, although that won't be about a year longer, you'll probably be standing here with somebody else talking to you about this. It gives me the leverage to hold over them something I don't have now. In terms of us working through this, that option has been on the table, like I mentioned, from 1980 for other partners to bring it to bear. They haven't done it. And fortunately, we finally have somebody up there in Paul Weatherfield that's actually addressing the problem. I don't have the same, quite frankly, confidence in the board. I don't really give them a dead one. By the way, just for all you understand, our state funding is capped. Revenues for this are going to have to be pretty much at the local level. I mean, and you would be involved in any additional revenues that come through this. This is safety, not a capital program. This would be, as our representative director Mitchell would have the ability to go in and say, you got to spend money on safety, and with all due respect, it's not going to solve the capital improvements. I don't see the monies from that perspective, but it says you can't use monies for salaries and other things. You got to fix safety first. So that's really what it's intended to be. So while we're in agreement with you that there needs to be significant changes to LAMATA, I do not, cannot in good conscience say this is the way to do it. So I agree with the underlying bill, but I respectfully disagree with the enactment clauses. Not the intent of what you're doing, it's just the vehicle we're using. And it would also presuppose that we haven't been working on that. My personal opinion is that it's going to require somebody not related to the jurisdictions and the federal government to lead the effort to get this done, quite frankly. And that is something that is going on. But I get it, you're going to leave here in a few weeks and you don't want to come back next year and you see the same place you've been. I get that. So I understand what you're trying to do. I just think this puts in jeopardy I think, a movement forward, and I'm willing to discuss other ways to how to accomplish what you want to do, but I just would respectfully say this enactment is not the way to do it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, just to make sure that we're on the same page, am I correct that we have adopted the substance from the subcommittee, which has the subcommittee's amended enactment clause E in there? The motion now is to amend enactment E with the new proposed amendment. So a yes vote on this amendment would be for the new amendment that's before you. A no vote would be to advance the bill with the subcommittee's E enactment clause on it. If this isn't a vote to have an E or not have an E, it's only a question of which version of E would go forward.
That is correct.
Mr. Chairman, parliamentary inquiry. Mr. Chairman, if people do not like either form of E, could they not vote against the second form of E, and then because we voted on the first form of E, we could reconsider that vote and therefore strike the first form of E. So we're not stuck. Is that not the case, Mr. Chairman?
You have,
we're not stuck with either B. So
I believe the very first section document, and then it's before us. As far as what that was said.
Mr. Chairman, okay, so then I will make a motion that has voted on the prevailing side by which we pass the substitute. We reconsider that vote so that people don't want either E, they can essentially reject both E's.
So it's not on our,
We have Delegate Menchie's amendment before us. Mr. Chairman. Delegate one.
Can I ask the secretary a question?
All right.
I appreciate your comments, and the secretary's right, that we all agree governor on down, that Metro's a mess, it's gotta get fixed. And I guess the question is, what's the administration doing to accelerate that? I'm concerned that it's suggested somebody else needs to take the lead, because, one of the things I've admired about this governor is he's got a lot of energy. He's a great negotiator. Done all these economic development deals, and I'm just thinking here, given the economic importance of Metro to Northern Virginia as a state as a whole, Northern Virginia to the economy as a state as a whole, the biggest economic development deal he could get done in the rest of his term is to negotiate a fixed full-time compact. And so my question is, just respectfully, what are y'all waiting for?
Nobody's waiting. Those are going on, but you presuppose that he has influence over the DC Council, the Maryland legislature. If it were it happened to be, I'll tell you what, if it was all in Virginia, it'd be fish like the Board of Virginia. But unfortunately, politics comes into it. He happens to be a Democrat. There's a Republican governor in Maryland, and there's a lot of politics on the council. So I don't think you're finding a lot. I don't think there's anything magic about what needs to be done, quite frankly. But getting that through, that's why I find this whole situation. I've never been in politics before. I was running, operating businesses. Having, with all due respect, politicians running and operating business, that's what's going on at Metro. And I'm not being disrespectful to anybody in here. That is where we are. We've got disparate things, so it's the whole governance. So maybe it is to blow it up. I just don't think it's through this vehicle, because I think it actually gives us more abilities to use in that. But Director Mitchell, I know Doug and Dee was a part of it. There's continuing. I mean, the board previously did lots of governance. I mean, there's a whole thing of work that's been done. We haven't found a political way to get it done, and we're on the time of lots of things changing and pulling things up. Maybe that's it. I personally believe that the Metro Safety Commission gives us more to do it, and more for that, but it may come to that, Delegate Maloney. It may be that, well, the only tool we really have now is withhold funding. And quite frankly, Virginia hasn't put any more funding in. I mean, I can't speak for the localities, but they make up, we haven't put any more funding in, because we've demanded to make sure that they work for it. I've worked with Paul Whitfield, and quite frankly, I think left to his designs, we could get to this. I do not have the confidence with the current leadership in the on the board of directors that we'll get there. So I wish I had the magic wand, money, and I would say there's lots of efforts going on, and that's what I find interesting. By the way, when we pass this thing, it's not going to get any better. It's going to require actions to make it better. And even passing if we could pass a law and get this done, I suspect it would be done. Or make an agreement, even a definitive agreement. We could have a definitive agreement, and it doesn't pass the legislature, it doesn't mean anything. That's what the problem is. I mean, if you ask, I'll shut up after this, but it's frustrating. I don't even know who owns Wilmota. You know who owns Wilmota?
I mean, they don't know who owns Moana. So I understand the frustration. I am deeply shared. I just don't think this is the vehicle that's going to get us there. But I do assure you there's plenty of efforts going on. I can't guarantee success, sir. I wish I could tell you. But I do look to tell you the governor is engaged. I have been significantly engaged. Secretary Ron's coming to see me next week. But it seems like we get two of them and then the Fed. It's this multi-thing. So at the end of the day, I'm not ruling off that we have to just say, we're done. And maybe that's what it's going to have to be. I just don't think this is the vehicle.
Secretary, I'm equally as frustrated. What we'll do is, we have a number of folks that speak on it, but I want to limit this. As Chairman Hugo, something that's got a, Michigan last word. Try to,
I was going to make a motion to move
okay.
Chairman.
Second. Chairman Hugo.
Okay, I'm a fan of that.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think that's any more. I don't think, believe me, if any questions,